This was all done in real time. I'm gonna edit this, so I'm gonna let it go. All right, gonna be replacing a front disc brake, hydraulic. I'm gonna go from this Shimano part number. I'll get you the part number. BLMT201. This is a super low cost. It's probably, I've seen it for as low as maybe 25 bucks, 35 bucks. You can get it anywhere online. I use them as backups. Usually it's going on a entry-level bike, a recreational family style bike, you know, something like that. And it's connected to a 160 millimeter rotor. That's the diameter down there. I've had this on probably the last 2.5 months, and I've done some pretty decent rides. Some technical and stuff like that. I'm pretty impressed with its power, and I believe it uses organic brake pads, which needs to match up with organic style rotor. But for the cost and what I've put it through, it's doing pretty good. The areas I do see it maybe failing a little bit, but it's usually going to be on a really long descent, hard, fast, hitting the brakes hard, maybe for a long duration, and maybe the power is just not there. I got to get 2 fingers on it, but no scary moments. Definitely impressed with it, but I don't want to push my luck too much. I'm going to start doing some races on this, so I don't want my brake to be the reason I fall off a bike. So I'm going to start with just removing the wheel. The axle's a little tight getting out. You can always put a light lubrication, give it a cleaning, give it a wipe off first, and then just a very thin layer of grease. You don't need a lot of grease there in that area. And I'm going to go ahead and bolt this. So I'm just going to do a bolt-on system. So the reason I had to replace the rear XT disc brake, and these are single piston. Yeah, the rear one started leaking, bleeding through the cups. Maybe that's where the cup has cracked. Those cups are ceramic. It was hanging up on the wall, and I just went to go squeeze the brake lever, and all of a sudden I see fluid leaking out the rear caliper. And I don't even think the brakes were 2 years old. Definitely didn't expect that from Shimano, so pretty disappointed about that. And then just started having consistency in that happening. XT, SLX, and then my front failed as well. Kind of the same idea. Just, I mean, I'm not even getting 3 or 4 years out of it. So I don't know what happened. If Shimano's quality's changing, if I got some knockoffs on accident. I'm not sure what that case may be. But 2 5mm bolts, because you use a 5mm hex, 2 bolts off. Beware if you have any spacers, take a picture before any of that comes off. And then this guy down here, it's either a 2 or 2.5, just depending on what you have there, either RockShox or Fox. And it's going to be a hex. And if it's filthy, clean it out, get a pick, get all the dirt out, because if you try to shove your tool in there and there's dirt in there, your tool's going to slip, and you're going to start stripping your little bolt. These bolts are pretty fragile. And then just put these somewhere, like if you have a bowl, just put all your small parts somewhere. And yeah, and then this came pre-bled, so I just got it, I slapped it on really quick. I think I slapped it on before a ride a few months back. And then this one, I do have to slide off all my handlebar and stuff like that. So I got this lock on, and these are typically 2.5 or 3mm hex tool. Just loosen these bolts enough. Don't take the bolts out completely. I got one. You might have 1 clamp or 2 clamps. Either one's fine. And you just don't want to take these bolts out all the way. There's no need to. If you do, just chancing losing them. And then here I have an end cap, which is actually not an end cap. It's got a picture of a little samurai guy. But this is a 2-piece. This is for your tire plug. This is the reamer, and then the other side has the insert for that piece of bacon. So I thought these were cool. I like any devices that keep the tools on the bike and off of me. Therefore, if you're you don't forget them, if you change bikes, or if you have multiple bikes you're riding, every bike has what it needs, so you don't have to worry about it. A little bit of dirt. And then this guy, typically a 4 or a 5 mil. This one's going to be a 5. And then just note your angle too, but you can always match it up with your other one, or take pictures, or just get back on your bike and make those adjustments. So that's all it. That's one piece right here. So this system is still good. You can see inside here, brake pads are still in great shape. Overall pretty good. I mean, I'm pretty impressed with their product, this low-end product. These piston cups happen to be some type of plastic or resin, less chance of that ceramic breaking. Definitely don't put a metal tool in there for any reason. This guy is probably coming a little bit longer because Magura does left and right applicable. So I can flip this lever. This could be on my right side, or I can just flip it over and it's got the writing on both sides, and this can be my left side. So depending what you want, it's not going to be sold as left specifically and right specifically like Shimano does. So that means that the hose is going to be very long, so you can walk it to the rear or you can have it for the front. So it's already it's about 8:30 p.m. on a Saturday. I'm supposed to go ride tomorrow morning. Probably going to hook this up. I'm not going to worry about cutting this or trimming it. I'll do that at a later date. Anytime you're going to cut and shorten your hose, you always want to have new hardware, which is your barb and your olive. And despite what people say, it is metal. What's in there already has been crushed and formed a seal. You pull it out, you reconnect it with the same old pieces. It may not crush and form the same way. Therefore, you can create a seal or create a leak, and or the hose may want to blow out when you squeeze hard pressure. This system here on the caliper, they're running a banjo style, so this fitting that connects to the caliper is all one piece. It's clamped or forged from the factory. So this is the side I am not cutting or measuring. This side stays intact. This side over here, if you slide this rubber piece off, and then you're going to see an area in a bolt, probably an 8 mil. You can use an 8 mil tool and put your wrench on it. So anytime you see the nut that you can remove it with a wrench, that's the side that you can replace. I'm going to loosen that up, pull it out, measure my system, cut, install my barb and olive, and then reconnect everything, torque this down. Typically I've seen it torque to like 5, 6, 7 Newton meters. If you don't torque it tight enough, again, this could blow out or create a leak. So this clamp does have it's a 2-piece, so I can take this off and mount it up, but I already have my grip off. Slide this back on, and we're just roughly building right now. I'm going to roughly put it where I think it needs to go, and their bolts, Magura went to Torx. So we're going to go to a Park Tool green tool. This is going to be Torx, and I just want this to stay in place for now. And there's 2 bolts here, so I'm going to tighten one a little bit, tighten the second a little bit. What you don't want when the clamp system comes, you're going to try not to have metal meet, because then you're going to have a gap on the other side. You want an even gap on both sides. If you tighten one too much, it's going to make it crooked, and then you tighten this one over here, then you're going to stress it trying to tighten it up, and it could crack over time, fatigue. So that's good enough for now. It's not moving. And this guy is pretty long. Yeah, so this guy hit the floor. It is super long. Let me slide this little rubber dust cover back over our nut. We're going to run it back through. This is a long sucker. So I will be riding with some excess. I'm just going to kind of round it. Never kink these. Be very careful. Just try to follow its natural line. Maybe I coil up the excess. I'll probably zip tie it somewhere here. Try to make it look a little cleaner, not so, you know, messy. So the system, most of these will run in between the fork, and may seem counterintuitive because it's on the inside where the tire is, but it usually runs nice and tight and it stays away from the tire. There's no issue of getting into the spokes or anything like that. Let's see if they gave me, yeah, so usually they're going to be some new hardware. and hardware being 2 bolts for the caliper, and they already have blue thread locker on it. That blue paint is basically going to help. It's almost like a light glue. It's going to create resistance. So if that bolt if you didn't tighten it up tight enough, or in years down the road you never touch it, that paint is meant to stop the bolt from vibrating loose over time and losing that bolt or losing your brake system. So it's a bit of a safety deal right there. Looks like they did give me in the package, they gave me a silver barb that's going to be shoved into the housing, and then they gave me looks like a little black barrel. That's their olive. So different looking than Shimano and than SRAM, so maybe stick to what they recommend. But let's get this mounted again. So when I pull my other bolts off for my system, this fork, typically the forks are built for a certain diameter rotor. This fork, this is being probably like a 2022. This fork is built for a 160 millimeter diameter rotor. So I have a 160 mil rotor. That means I can just bolt it straight on. There's just a bolt with a washer, that's it. They're not extended or anything. If you chose to go to a larger rotor, if you jump from 160 up to a 180 or a 200, then we're going to need longer bolts. You may need extra washers or spacers to get the fit correct, because the caliper needs to come out and make distance for that larger rotor. And if you do go bigger, it's because you're going faster and you need better braking and you need better cooling. So, or you're a bigger dude as well, or just a super aggressive rider. So, this is ridiculously long. So this one here has an emblem on, it's facing me. Let's see here. Yeah, and then the other sides, there's a black circle, so just some type of reference. And this one happens to be polished, which is pretty nice. This is a cross-country bike. I weigh about 160 or so. So 160 millimeter rotor for front and rear is pretty common for cross country. I'm not doing like straight up downhill flying super fast because I only have front suspension. I can only go so fast before I crash. So therefore my speed, I don't get too crazy on the speed. If I'm getting quick on speed, it's because it's like a little bit more of a straightaway, a little smoother. Then, you know, all bets are off. I can go as fast as I want for that duration. So when you're turning these bolts that have the thread locker, hopefully they left you 1 or 2 threads that are clear of the paint of the thread locker. That allows you to get the bolts started at least 1 to 2 revolutions. Past that, you're going to start running into the paint and you're going to start to feel early resistance, and that's just you getting through that Loctite paint. And then over time it will, and it may be heat activated too, because the caliper is going to warm up, so then it may warm up the thread locker. I'd have to look into that and then hopefully kind of lock that bolt into place. But it is meant for you to come back with a wrench and break it free with a hand tool. That's the whole idea about this low strength blue thread locker. And it may come in different colors, but blue has been pretty common. So I'm going to tighten this down, make full contact, and then boom, back up about a full turn, because I want this caliper to be a little jiggly, a little loose. That way when I bring my rotor in, it's not locked in the wrong position, and then I can't get my rotor in when I want to install my wheel. There is a little yellow brake block here, so I'm going to pull that out now. Just don't hit the lever. If you do hit the lever, not a big deal. You can, you might even be able to reuse this. This is a bit of a wedge. You can shove it back in and it will spread your pads open. All right, so the system's pretty much almost done. So I'm going to go ahead and coil this guy up. Looks pretty bad and very unprofessional. But I want to make it safe, and then you know what, I don't care. It'll get trimmed at a later date. Ooh, that worked out nicely. Okay, so I messed that up. Yeah, so my cable's going on the outside. I'm just going to slip this off and then fix that. But let me put a zip tie on this guy. And right now we're not too worried about cable being too short or tight or anything like that. When I turn the bars, everything is moving as a unit. It's not like my cable's going to the back and the housing is going to be pulled when I turn. So we're not worried about getting hung up or anything like that. Alright. Slip that off. And just, yeah, be careful not to kink. So yeah, now it's running just like that. And then clean this up. Actually, let's put the one back on the fork. This little guy. I think I may have lost the original little fork clamp for the housing, and I pulled it off as something else. The shape is a little different, but it does the job. As long as the threads are the same size, you're good. I'm going to say that's a 2.5. I'm going to see if I can get this thread started. Actually, it might force me to get the whole line in there. Alright, I'm going to grab the line. This is going to be a little difficult because the hose is very stiff, and then trying to line up the screw, so just take your time. The metal in the fork, those threads are very soft. You can strip those pretty quick, so you want to be delicate and take your time. And it's just really small movements until you feel that screw grab. And I think I got lucky there. So I'm going to keep tension, pull the slack, hold, and then tighten the clamp. Not too tight. This is where we have to be super careful. Torque on this, on that little bolt, could be 1.5 or something like that. So I'm noticing the hose direction is coming up straight rather than closer to the fork. That's something I could loosen. Could loosen it at a later date. We can loosen enough to where I'm not causing a leak, and then I can change that arm to line up better with my line and then tighten it back up. You just have to be willing to take that chance. And let's see. Yeah, if you don't look too close, it won't look too bad. I'm just going to zip tie to one. And then of course, you be very careful, test ride, kind of tootle around in your driveway, make sure nothing's getting hung up. Your handlebars aren't going to be stiff and locked somewhere. And yeah, I think then we'll do this one to itself, and then we're pretty much done. Of course, we'll throw the wheel on and then test the brake. And then you can use nail clippers, or Park Tool has a little small little cutters here, nippers, but you want to go all the way to the base of the excess of your zip tie, and that's going to cut it and make it flush. It's not going to leave a sharp edge. This is another pet peeve I hate. These get cut with a little bit of a sharp edge. You go to grab the bike somewhere and that thing wants to cut you. Yeah, so that's good for now. So no issues turning. Oh, we got to change this rotor too. All right, so this center lock, they come in two different styles for the tool shapes. This center lock uses the Park Tool BBT 69.2. This is blue, unless they've changed the color in the past few years, but lefty loosey. Lock ring's very shallow, so you got to keep good pressure on pushing while turning, because this tool does like to slip off. So pushing in while trying to loosen can be, oh, there we go. Well, maybe, I don't know if that was quite tightened to 40 Newton meters. That's why it's good to check your nuts and bolts every so many months. So off with that Shimano, on with the 160 millimeter Magura. And put this on. You always want to make sure that there's writing facing outward, facing you. You can read it. There's arrows to help you, rotation of the wheel. Some of these, it may not even let you put it backwards, but keep that in mind. And I'm going to throw on the new lock or ring here. It does say Magura with a lock tightening direction, and very common, 40 Newton meters, same as your cassette. And it's the same style. I'm using the same style tool. If it wasn't using this style BBT 69.2, then it's going to use an FR5, a very similar cassette tool. So I'm going to be tightening. I'm going to put this over here, push in, and I'm going to guesstimate my 40. Yeah, I'd say that's closer to 40. When I took the other one off, that was probably like, I don't know, 25, 30. You could always throw a torque wrench on it, but that is that. So we're also assuming these brake pads are spread out. You can always put a pad spreader in there just to confirm they are spread apart. So in a sense, this is like resetting your brake pads. You're pushing them back in, creating a bunch of space. Something you can do when you are experiencing maybe, you know, squeakiness, brake dragging, stuff like that. I'm going to use the Park tool, and that shoved in right away. And I'm going to turn my twist my wrist left and right, because it's hard to go left and right with this whole handle. I end up hitting the fork leg. So those are spread out, and then boom. Tightening these back up if there's no writing on it, most likely they're anywhere from like 8 to 10 Newton meters. Yeah, and it's spinning. A little bit of a rub right there, but haven't even adjusted anything yet. So I'm going to try the very first process. When it works great. But it doesn't work all the time. So we're going to squeeze and hold the brake lever. That's all dependent on having a loose caliper, so it's kind of jiggly. As soon as I squeeze this lever, caliper is going to center itself over the rotor, like perfectly. Squeeze and hold at all times, and then you're going to tighten one bolt at a time. Tighten the top a little bit, bottom a little bit, top a little bit, until it's snug, and then we test. In theory, it's going to center the caliper. So I'm going to give this several squeezes, at least about 10 squeezes. Pads are going to come in, they're going to look for that rotor, search, and then they finally hit it, they find it. You're going to feel the lever firm up, and then at that point, we're good to go. So I'm going to squeeze. Okay, that feels better. I'm going to go ahead and squeeze and hold. Gently tighten the top. Oh, I should have got a different tool. That three-way was hitting the spokes, so I'm going to jump over to a T-handle. Squeeze brake lever. Just want to feel it make contact. That's snugged up very gently. Go to the bottom. If you end up tightening one bolt, top or bottom, too tight at one time, it may want to twist the whole caliper, applying too much pressure and making the caliper crooked, therefore rubbing on the rotor. But I just want to put enough pressure where it's going to stay. We're going to test, and if it's good, then we go back and retighten to full torque. All right, this moment of truth. I'm going to spin and listen, and we got a rub. So if it doesn't center it perfectly where there's no rub, it's not terrible. You can see the wheel is just really taking its time slowing down. Not terrible, but if I can get my eyes in here and see where the gap is, and it's rubbing over here, darkness on the right side of the rotor, or light on the left side. And again, they give me like 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters to work with. So rubbing on this side, daylight over here, so that means the whole caliper, I'm going to shift it over to the left side if you're sitting on the bike, the non-drive side. I mean, I got to move it 1 mil, and then I'm splitting the difference. I have daylight on both sides of the rotor, and then I'm done. And we're also assuming this new rotor is straight. So far it looks pretty good. So my method here, I'm not going to squeeze the top anymore. What I'm going to do is I'm pinching part of the fork and part of the caliper. So I have it pinched in my fingers, and I'm able to stabilize with the fork and then move my fingertips to, systematically move that caliper. So I'm already applying pressure this way, gentle pressure, and then I'm cracking loose the bolt. When I hit that sweet spot in the bolt, I'm going to feel that caliper moving my fingers. Now, I cracked it open 1/2 to 3/4. If it doesn't shift, I'm going to pause there and then put my tool on the lower side, because the bottom one still is tight. Crack that loose a little bit, go back to the top. I still haven't felt it moving my top fingers. Yeah, it's going to happen like in a blink of an eye. But this will be the process. So from here, it's just me going back and forth and trying to dial this in. System is done. This was all done in real time. I'm going to edit this, so I'm going to let it go. So that's how quickly we can replace something, but minus trimming and cutting and setting the barb. That probably is going to take me another, well, back in the day, they used to say you can cut your line, put your barb olive, reconnect, and you don't have to bleed. In some cases, maybe you can get by with that, and maybe if it does need to bleed, it might maybe show up a month or two down the road. Just by the lever kind of squeezing in a little bit. Not like you're going to completely lose your brake, but in today's standards, they may require you to, anytime you're going to cut and put new barb, to go ahead and bleed just to be on the safe side. So that might be the thing to do. If I was to do that, cutting this and then putting the barb is probably take me another, say, 10 minutes, and then bleeding another 10-20 minutes. But I tend to spill stuff and make a mess, so I don't want to deal with it tonight. But we're all good to go. Just gonna bring this down, put my grip on, make sure my level's correct, tighten up nuts and bolts, take it for a spin in the driveway, and then I'll be good to ride.